third season of Film Session is available now on NFL Game Pass, featuring Brian Baldinger and Kurt Warner breaking down game film with NFL players such as Deshaun Watson, Devontae Adams, Minka Fitzpatrick, Stephon Gilmore, and more. To order NFL Game Pass, visit NFL.com/Game Pass. And visiting us with us now, it's Brian Baldinger. Baldy, good morning.
What's up, Mike? Stink. You can steal my stuff anytime, man. It's a real honor that you're doing that, man. Hey, Mike, we were hanging out at the Super Bowl. We were at Jaws and Ditka's cigar party. I don't know, Mark, does that seem like a couple of years ago that happened? I mean, it seems like an awful long time ago we were hanging out.
It does, man. It's 100 years ago is what it seems like. Hey, Baldy, one of the cool things that has happened here I suppose in the last probably season and a half, 2 seasons, is almost this kind of cyclical type of transition back to, big time, run the football, control the line of scrimmage, with guys like Q, Quentin Nelson, and the Seahawks are doing it, and like all these teams with the 49ers. Like, what have you talked to with the players and the coaches, kind of getting back to almost old 90s football?
Mark, it's just trench warfare. I mean, teams are realizing that if you're not built strong and deep in the trenches, that you're not going to be successful. You're just not. And so you look at what the Eagles did in their Super Bowl run, how good they were up front. I mean, all pros at, right tackle, right guard, center. I mean, that's where it starts. And you can have all of the flash and all the glamour and all of the, the glitz everywhere else on the team. But if they don't win up front, then it's not going to materialize. And what the 49ers did in the run game last year, I mean, I've been studying that stuff all year, Mark. I mean, all off season. I'm at NFL Films right now. Like, they opened the doors for me, but I'm still studying what Mike McDaniels did in the run game and how they didn't block Luke Kuechly, and they were running right by him. I mean, what they did with their motions, with their movement, what they did to the Packers twice last year, I mean, they carved teams up. Everybody should be studying what the 49ers did, because that was an offensive line and a run game that we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Visit with Brian Baldinger from the NFL Network. All right, speaking of glamour and glitz, that's certainly what the Broncos did in the first couple of rounds of the NFL draft, going with receivers. Did they do the right thing?
I don't know yet. I mean, I think they're asking Mike Munchak to be a miracle worker right now. I mean, they're going to rebuild from the center to the right side, so there's going to be a lot of new personnel there. I wouldn't have done that. It's not me personally, in a draft that was as deep in tackles as we saw. Now, it doesn't mean all of them are going to be good, but I would have probably gone in a different direction. KJ Hamler is a nice, shiny, special object that you can, do a lot of things with. He's got tremendous speed. You watch him against Michigan, and he won a game against Michigan for Penn State. But I might have gone to the offensive line and continued to build there, and let Mike Munchak do what he does, which is develop players, and develop not just players, but develop lines. And I might have done a little, especially if you're going out and getting Melvin Gordon and know what you have right there and the other two running backs behind him.
Tell me about Drew Lock. I know you study more tape than anybody. So what did you see with Drew Lock last year, and what are your expectations moving forward?
I tell you, one thing I liked about him, I mean, obviously he won 4 of his last 5 starts. I mean, you could say who they played and all that, and that might be fair, winning some of the games that he did. But the one thing he did is he got the ball out of his hands fast. I mean, he was sacked 5 times, Mark, in 156, drop back attempts. That's not a bad ratio. That puts him up there amongst the league's best. Now, it's a 5-game sample, but you watch him get the ball out of his hands, and he makes quick decisions with the ball, and that's what he did to beat the Chargers. That's what he did to beat the Texans, and that's what I saw. I saw a guy that made quick decisions with the football. Now, that doesn't mean he's reading defenses and. But at the same time, that's a big part of helping your offensive line and helping your offense. And it's a big reason why I thought the offense played a lot better at the end of the year.
So as somebody who devours film like you do, what's waiting for Drew Lock now as he goes into his first full season? What are teams going to do differently, throw at him?
Well, I mean, I would imagine that. Look, I like Cortland Sutton, but if you're playing, if you're playing the New England Patriots, I mean, Stephon Gilmore is going to line right up in front of him. He's probably going to take him out of the game. And so, where's Drew going to go with the ball? Is it Jerry Jeudy? Is it KJ Hamler? Is it Tim Patrick? I mean, I don't know. Is it Noah Fant? I mean, where's it going to go if you get a great corner taking your number one receiver away? So that's what's next for him, is where to go with the ball when they start rolling coverage, they start taking your number one away, they start disguising things where it looks like it's cover three, and they're rolling to a Tampa 2 coverage and taking your tight end away. Those are all things that he's got to get prepared for, because it's different to start the season versus coming in week 13 that he did last year.
When you handicap the AFC West, you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have done, just the talent, overall talent that they have, and considering what this offseason has looked like and how crazy it's been and the limited number of reps you're going to get before we start playing in the season, like, how do you handicap this AFC West division?
Well, I mean, it's everybody looking up the Kansas City Chiefs. They had the fewest changes of any team in the league, I think in the league, but certainly in the division. They're going to bring back primarily the same team in the same system with the league's best player in Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's looking up at them right now. Everybody's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West and in the AFC, in my mind. We have never seen a player. I mean, you were around, Mark, when when Danny Marino came into the league and was playing, and he was Patrick Mahomes at that time. But we have never seen anything like this. To be down 24-0 in a playoff game, and every phase of your team stinks, and he's on the sideline telling you, we just need to get one score. And then to roll the Houston Texans like a tumbleweed all the way back to Houston, we'd never seen anything quite like that before. So it's the Chiefs right now. And how quickly can anybody close the gap on what they have?
Well, would you put the Broncos ahead of the Raiders and Chargers, or do you have doubts about that?
I'd have doubts about what the Oakland can do right now. I mean, I'd kind of put them all together right now, to be honest with you. I mean, I think the Broncos have a chance. I mean, the way they finished the season is impressive, but you're still going to start a guy that is going to make his sixth start in the NFL, to start the season right now. So, I mean, what last year's record doesn't really mean anything to me. I mean, I kind of put them all together. Everybody's made a bunch of changes right now. Vic Fangio gets, a second opportunity at this thing, and they've got changes in the entire coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. So they got to rebuild their offensive line. I don't necessarily put them in front of the Raiders right now or the Chargers.